Hi guys, I'm sorry it took me so long to make this. I was so busy trying to get everything done, take advantage of this 3-day weekend that we had. So happy holiday. I know I've seen someone say on my feed that there's really nothing to celebrate. And I kind of agree with him because of all of the new abortion laws and all the sad things that happen and all the laws that are just unfair for the people. Completely get that. But people have kids and they like to experience these things. Anyways, yeah, do what you want. so, I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys. I know I say this all the time, but I really like the atmosphere that we're setting in my comments. It's a really nice thing because I'm not like an edgy commentator, and not everybody in the chats is trying to be funny, or in the comments, sorry. Not everyone's just trying to be funny. You guys are actually like thinking and using your heart and telling me experiences that you had yourself, and it's really amazing. I really like to see what people are educated in and what you guys know about this. So it's really nice to be having a very good, smart conversation. It's like, yeah, it's a good feeling. So, um, let's go from where we left off. So, I forgot to mention this. I totally skipped over it in my last video. Two things actually. So, um, my mom was getting sick from stress, right? And so she wasn't, when I was a kid, she wasn't trying hard enough because her mentality was so bad to the point where she felt like she was a victim and that everybody owed her something and that she could sit around and cry and complain and maybe someone out there will come and rescue her and fix her problems. And at that time, I don't think a lot of research was available about these situations. And so she really didn't know how to get the proper support. So it was really sad to see her do that. She was really relying on child support, and she didn't think, well, your dad left his job because he didn't want to be part of the drama. And so he's gonna eventually run out of money and he can't do this. So what are you gonna do? And she just didn't care. She was actually very sick, but she didn't put forward an effort in getting on disability either. So all she wanted to do was escape her reality, and she didn't want to take care of real business. She just wanted to go hang out with her friends and talk to them on the phone, and she didn't want to be bothered anymore. I could really understand that. And so she's been in and out of doctors, and eventually she's been abusing her pain medication. I don't know, I don't remember clearly if she really needed them or if she was just taking them just to take them. But she was in really bad shape. It was not pretty at all. And then she almost died one day of appendicitis. But luckily, she was able to get that fixed. So things were really bad. And me and my sister were on our own, and we had to take care of ourselves, essentially. She still, like, cared about us, she still loved us, but I could tell that the stress was getting to her too much. And in the last video, I said that, like, I was entitled because of my problems, and that really wasn't the wording I was looking for. Sometimes in these videos, I might accidentally use bad wording because I'm, like, trying to come up with this off the top of my head, and, sometimes I'll say the wrong thing, but I'll clarify. I don't mean entitled. What I really mean is that I would appreciate if people were sensitive and empathetic enough to feel for me and to care about this. So that's what I really mean. I just want people to care. Okay. So, this may not seem like a big deal right now. The next story that I'm saying, it may not seem like it's a big deal, but this is only the beginning of a whole new, a whole new thing, a whole new thing that it was very traumatic and long and drawn out and really, really sad. So, I met a guy in the 7th grade, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I said yes. I was just happy to have a boyfriend. It was great, you know, I was excited. Nothing was out of the ordinary. It was just all regular, normal things. Um, and then one day, like maybe after a week of dating, he breaks up with me. And at that age, like I didn't really care because I understood, you know, whatever. It's your life. And a little bit later, he comes back and he says, "Look, I'm sorry I broke up with you. This is really mean, but I feel really bad about this. But my friend told me that you were crazy." And I was like, "Oh, really? Who was your friend?" And he told me, and I said, "Well, I don't know him. I've never spoke to him in my life, so how would he know?" And I will say that, oh, and another thing, hold on. I wasn't doing anything weird in school. I wasn't. I was just a normal person, but my depression probably was the thing that made people think I was crazy. It was probably just the depression thing because I was a pretty decently good kid. I was. I didn't do anything in middle school. I was just nice to everybody, whatever. I had good friends. I had lots of friends. I did. I wasn't weird. I wasn't crazy. Maybe a little weird because you're a kid, but nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing. I was completely innocent. And the thing that I said last video is that when I was younger in elementary school, I was like acting out a few times, but it really wasn't anything crazy. I'm like saying like a normal amount for a kid, maybe with their parents getting divorced. If that makes any sense. Maybe like once in a blue moon. Like it was very, very rare that I did that. So, nothing crazy. Really nothing crazy. Um, so yeah, I was like, "I never met your friend. I don't know who that is." And he said, "Yeah, I could kind of tell." Like, he said he doesn't know you either, and that's why we kind of felt bad and wanted to apologize. And I was like, "It's okay, it's fine, everyone makes mistakes. I understand why you would want to trust your friend." But in the back of my mind, now that I look back on it, the year beforehand, before I even met this guy, my boyfriend at the time, yeah, before I even met him, there was a kid that would, this happened once. There was somebody that came up to me and they said, "Oh, do you see that guy?" And that was him. I never like directly talked to him, but they were like, "Yeah, I see that guy. He has all of these weird, crazy problems." He was just like bullying him behind his back to me. And you know what I said? I said, "I don't know him. I don't know who he is, and I would like to get to know him for myself before I start making any judgments." And so the bullying and the rumors stopped with me. And I didn't agree with him and I didn't believe him because I wanted to see for myself. And then I meet him the next year in person, right? So it was really confusing to me at the time why he would just believe his friend without getting to know me. It was a very short time, it wasn't enough time to actually know. But although I thought these things were really confusing, I just let it go and I just thought, Everyone makes mistakes, whatever. And so I gave him another chance and we started dating again. Some time passes, maybe like a month, and I think everything's fine. Nothing weird, nothing strange. I wasn't being weird, I wasn't being rude. Maybe I was a little shy because you're so young. I was a little shy, but nothing crazy at all. So, um, after about a month of dating, I was standing in the hallway and I saw him walking up to me and I was like, hey, how's it going? You know, do you want to talk and do you want to hang out? I was just happy to see him. Normal day, just a normal day for me. And then he he was oh my gosh. So some girl was walking down the hallway and he points over to her and he says, "Do you see that girl over there? She's so ugly." And I looked and I was really confused because I didn't see an ugly person. So I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And well, I thought, what were you talking about? But I didn't know what he was talking about at all, and so I was just like, sure, can you explain this more? And he laughed a little bit, and then he's like, I gotta get to class, bye. And I was so confused. I was like, I was horrified. I was like, how could you just walk up to me and start bullying someone to me? That is absolutely crazy. I can't believe you. Um, that was crazy. Like, I looked at him in shock. I was like, oh my goodness. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't even know. Because, at that age in school, you're old enough. You're old enough to handle yourself. You're old enough to know right from wrong. And they tell you this, and we all want to be good kids because it makes us feel good about ourselves, right? We all wanted to be good. We all wanted to be fine. We didn't like drama. And we were old enough to understand this. We were old enough. So the reason why he would do that is I have no idea. So I think maybe a few days later he breaks up with me. And then, like maybe a week later, he ends up with her. And then she wanted him, this is what he tells me, I'm not entirely sure on this one, but he told me that she wanted him to hold her hand and walk by me in the hallway. And once I saw that happening, I started breaking down and crying because I realized what he said. And what he was saying was basically, look at that girl. Do you think she's ugly? And I'm like, I don't really think she's ugly. And he's like, yeah, exactly. That's why I'm leaving you and going with her. So you're the ugly one and she is way prettier than you. And that's what he said. And honestly, that seems to be a main theme of my life. Honestly, I don't think I'm that ugly. I may be a little different, I may be a little exotic, but I don't think that I'm ugly. But yeah, that has happened a few times in my life, actually. It's definitely heartbreaking, so why would that matter? That happened so long ago, why does this matter? Because, well, it's happened a few times in my life. It's absolutely heartbreaking for a guy to just straight up, you're ugly, no matter how hard you try, even if you look fine, you look the same every day. And a guy that you like, a guy that you're with, is just looking at other people all the time. It's happened a lot in my life. Just because I don't look like your typical Instagram model. Yeah. My nose is a bit wide, yes, but I mean, hey, that doesn't mean I'm not a person on the inside. That doesn't mean I don't have a heart. That doesn't mean I'm not smart. That doesn't mean I don't care. It's the worst feeling that a girl can have. It just makes me sick every day to think about these situations. Because I would never do that to someone else. I wouldn't. Even if you don't find someone attractive, this is like kind of a break. This is an advice break. Listen, if you don't find someone attractive, that doesn't mean it's okay for you to bully them or belittle them or just straight up tell them you think you're being honest, but there's only so far you can be honest before you start hurting someone's feelings. I think you need to maybe find a middle ground between honesty and empathy for others. You need to find a middle ground. You can't just be too honest. Okay, listen. Some people are very extreme and very nasty and they think that's the way. I don't believe it. I don't agree with them. But some people will take honesty too far, to the point where they think that they're being mean. They know they're being mean, but they think that they're being honest. Listen, sometimes you can keep things to yourself to spare someone else's feelings. You need to find a middle ground so it's respectful for others. Yeah, some people just take it way too far. They're super mean and they cover it up by being honest. But listen, you need to keep some things to yourself and you need to think about the way other people feel. I don't care if you're being honest. Have some privacy. Think about that. Exactly. You need to learn to have a little more privacy for yourself. That's a privacy thing at that point. I just can't believe it. Even for me personally, if I didn't find someone attractive and if I wasn't interested, I would still treat them with respect. I wouldn't try to I wouldn't put them down. I wouldn't make fun of them. I would just politely say, no thank you, it means a lot that you actually think I'm attractive and cool enough to actually like, but I'm not interested, or I'm not in a good place in my life, or something along those lines. But I'm not just going to be like, ugh, I could get someone better than you. That's like horrible. Could you imagine how they would feel? No. I don't care if you're being honest. Sometimes you're being too honest. And you need to have a little privacy for yourself. And a little respect for others. Why would that be wrong? You need to come to a good middle. I don't know. Anyways, I think I explained that good enough. And so, yeah, I was crying for a month after that. And so after a month, and I was crying every day. Oh, every day I came back home to my mom. And she still did care about us. She just liked escaping a lot, but she did care. And I would always come home to my mom and I was crying, and she always had to comfort me. It was awful. Oh, I remember now. Okay, so an important part of the story, after I saw him with her and I realized that he was calling me ugly and not her, the day after, I was crying all day at school, and then I come home. I think I left school early, actually, if I remember correctly. I left school early because I was crying too much. And the next morning, after I woke up, I was puking. That was so horrible and so shocking to me, and no one has ever done something so awful to me that I threw up. I was in such shock that I actually threw up from experiencing his behavior. Can you believe that? And my mom totally freaked out and she thought I was pregnant, but I was telling her, Mom, no, I haven't done that yet. I haven't done anything like that yet. And she was like, take the test anyways, and so I did, and it came in negative, and so she was really relieved but also confused. She was like, what's going on? Are you pregnant? How did you get pregnant? I'm like, no, Mom, no, I haven't. She's like, why are you throwing up in the morning? Because yesterday, this guy started some very horrible things with me, and that's only the beginning of what he does. See, I've known him for a long time, and he's still out there. I've had some of his exes approach me and try to get some type of support and talk about what he does. He's genuinely a bad egg. I've never met someone so bad in my life. And he was not raised right. Okay, I don't think he was raised right at all. Like his mom was not a good person, but he was old enough to have a mind of his own. So I'm really confused. Was it his parents? Was it him? I'm not sure. He's old enough, right? He should be old enough to think for himself. He should know what bad parents are. So why is he doing this? I have no idea. No idea. I think he was raised wrong because his mom was not a good person. She did pay bills, she did have a job, she was good, and she cooked, and she did try to take care of business as best as she could. She was a single mom for obvious reasons. But she was not teaching her kids a good thing. She was not teaching her kids good things at all. She was teaching him that he could go and bully, or yeah, he could go bully whoever he wants, and you're my little boy and you're so perfect and you can do whatever you want and I will always be there to cover your tracks. I'm always going to help you get away with it. I'm always going to help you sweep it under the rug. So that's the type of parent she was. So even if this person was completely innocent, they didn't deserve anything, she would still let him get away with it. She would do nothing. It was so hard, especially for a girl like me, like his girlfriend. Imagine being his girlfriend. Imagine being his girlfriend for years. Because that's what it came to. I ended up being his girlfriend. I ended up forgiving and forgiving because I was still thinking, he's young, he's still learning. I had no idea at this point. I was too young to know better. I really was. I had no idea what, abusive relationships really were. At the time, it was more thought that abusive relationships only meant hitting and not just verbal or emotional. But now that we have more research, it's completely different, and now we know. But it's a little late, huh? So, yeah, if you've been through that, if you've been through something like that, bullying at an early age, I'm so sorry, I understand. My best advice is, although it's really hard to let go of people, and I know you want to give people second chances, if things are getting too out of control and you see a person doing these things that are far more aggressive than all of the other kids in your school or something like that, if he's being more aggressive than everybody else and doing things that everybody else doesn't do, you might want to stay away from him. And I am so sorry if you cared about that person. It's really, really difficult letting go of them. It is, because I just wanted a normal relationship. I thought he was cute. He was really funny. Oh, and that's another thing that I could mention later, is that I didn't know any better and I kept forgiving him because he would always play it off as if he was joking. And yeah, sometimes he was really funny, but he was really, really awful. He was really verbally and emotionally abusive. And then he would just play it off, I'm joking, whatever, I'm so funny. Oh, he's really funny, maybe he's just joking, we'll forgive him. And I was always in denial of who he actually was, when everyone else around me was so much better than him. Everyone else around me was kind, they would never say those things, and they would never do those things. They wouldn't, and he was the only one that would. So, yeah, that was pretty hard. And so, we'll mention another thing in a minute. Okay, actually, right now, sorry. So, after he was dating her for a while, he comes back to me. Maybe like a week, maybe 2 weeks, I can't remember, but he comes to me and he says, Morgan, you are so much better than her. This is what he wanted me to believe. He wanted me to think that I was better than her, I'm the winner, And I've had boys in my life do this to other girls. I've witnessed this before. They will be going around from girl to girl, and then he'll stop at one girl and tell her you're the winner, to manipulate this girl into thinking that she's special to him and that he wants her. Okay, listen. This guy will run around from girl to girl to girl. He doesn't care. He'll just like, yeah, he'll run around girl to girl in a very short period of time with no respect or regard to anyone else. So in a short period of time, he'll be with like a couple different females. And then he will come to each female and tell her, oh, I know you saw me with her just now, but she has problems and you're obviously the better option. Manipulating her into being blind to what he does. It's really awful. And I've seen that happen to a few other girls with me, because a guy would be with me and then he would run off to another girl in a very short amount of time. And then he would tell the other girl, oh, you're the better one though. You're the winner. I'm not being like a hoe or anything. Like, I'm not being a man hoe. Like, oh, I obviously picked the better winner. And that's what he does. He manipulates this girl into thinking she's better than others. So she doesn't realize that, hey, what he was doing was wrong. Like, he was just with like a million girls. Like, that's wrong. It's wrong. You should, my best advice, you should be with one person at a time. Really. For respect for yourself and respect for others. Respect for your future partner that you think is the one. Because if you want that one that you like so much, and if they see you running around with all these people in such a short time, they're gonna get really uncomfortable. But, you know, I've seen these dudes manipulate girls into thinking you're the winner, to overlook these things that are really, really bad and unhealthy behaviors. So, that's really something to think about, something to look out for, with anybody, really. So it's been a while. I think I'm going to call it here. Thank you so much for watching, and we can get into the rest later.